The crystal spires of Nova Prime glittered in the light of 3 setting suns, their surfaces reflecting the oranges and purples of dusk. High Commander Lyra Vess stood at the observation deck of the Science Ministry, her 4-fingered hands clasped behind her back as she watched the final transport ships evacuating civilians from the capital city. The Navarans had always prided themselves on being a species of scientists and explorers, their technological achievements earning them respect across known space. But now, their peaceful civilization faced extinction. High Commander, the voice of her chief advisor, Torin, broke through her thoughts. The Karkan fleet has been detected crossing the Helios barrier. Their numbers, his voice faltered. Their numbers are beyond our worst predictions. Lyra's luminescent eyes narrowed, the bioluminescent patterns across her silver skin pulsing with anxiety. How many? Over 2,000 warships, Commander. The Dominion isn't sending a conquest fleet. They're sending an extermination force. The news hit her like a physical blow. The Karkan Dominion had been expanding aggressively for the past decade, but this was unprecedented. The Navarans' crime, refusing to share their advanced quantum communication technology with the Dominion. The Karkans had demanded it, claiming it was vital to galactic security. But Lyra and the Science Council knew the truth. The Karkans would weaponize it, using it to coordinate devastating surprise attacks across the galaxy. What of our allies? Lyra asked, though she already knew the answer. Torin's skin patterns dimmed in shame. The Centaurian Alliance has sealed their borders. The Meridian Collective claims their defense treaties don't cover internal disputes. Even the Arcturian Federation. He trailed off. Even they abandoned us. Lyra finished. The Arcturians had been their oldest friends, sharing centuries of cultural and scientific exchange. Their betrayal stung the deepest. She turned from the window, walking to the central holographic display where the tactical situation was laid bare. Their own fleet, barely 400 ships strong, wouldn't last an hour against the Karkan Armada. Their ground defenses, while advanced, weren't designed to repel an invasion of this scale. The Navarans had always believed in defense through diplomacy, not military might. There is one other option, Commander. Torin's voice was hesitant, almost fearful. We could contact the humans. The suggestion sent a chill down Lyra's spine. Humanity was the galaxy's greatest mystery. They had emerged onto the galactic stage merely 30 years ago, and their behavior had puzzled every other species since. Unlike other civilizations that proudly displayed their achievements and military capabilities, humans kept to themselves. They established trade relations, participated in cultural exchanges, but revealed almost nothing about their true capabilities. Some species mocked them as primitive newcomers. Others whispered darker theories, that humans were hiding something. The few alien merchants who had visited Earth spoke of massive orbital structures hidden behind advanced cloaking technology, of strange energy signatures that defied known physics. The humans have never intervened in any conflict, Lyra said, but she found herself moving toward the quantum communications array anyway. They've rejected every military alliance proposed to them. Yes, Torin agreed, but they've also never rejected a direct plea for help. They're the only species the Karkans haven't tried to bully or manipulate. Perhaps they know something we don't. Lyra's fingers hovered over the communications panel. Pride and desperation warred within her. The Navarans had achieved spaceflight when humans were still learning to harness electricity. To beg help from such a young species. A distant explosion rocked the building. The Karkan advance scouts had arrived. Send the signal, Lyra ordered, her voice firm despite her inner turmoil. Not to their diplomatic corps. Send it directly to their military command. The message was simple. To Earth Military Command. Navaran civilization faces extinction. Karkan Dominion launches unprovoked attack. 2,000 warships approach. Our people are peaceful. We request immediate assistance. Please help. For long moments, there was only silence. Lyra's heart sank. Of course, the humans wouldn't respond. They were too young, too weak too. The quantum array crackled to life. A voice responded, speaking in perfect Navaran. Message received. Question: are you prepared to authorize unrestricted military response? Lyra and Torin exchanged shocked glances. The voice was calm, professional, but something in its tone sent shivers through both of them. It didn't sound like a diplomat seeking clarification. It sounded like a warrior asking for permission to unleash hell. We authorize any action required to save our people," Lyra responded. "Understood. Clear all Navaran ships from outer orbit. Maintain planetary shields at maximum. Stand by for arrival." The transmission cut off. Lyra stared at the console, then at Torin. "How long do you think it will take them to?" She never finished the question. The space above Nova Prime erupted in light as reality itself seemed to tear open. Through holes in space that shouldn't exist, they emerged. Ships of impossible design, their hulls seeming to absorb light rather than reflect it. Not a handful, not a dozen. Hundreds, then thousands. The humans had arrived, and they had brought with them the largest fleet anyone in the galaxy had ever seen. "By the ancestral light," Torin whispered, his skin patterns frozen in shock. "What have we awakened?" Admiral Sarah Chen watched the tactical display aboard the TES Hyperion. Her expression neutral as data streamed across multiple holographic screens. The human fleet had emerged precisely where calculated, their quantum tunneling drives performing flawlessly. 5,000 ships, each one representing the pinnacle of human military technology, hung in perfect formation above the Navaran homeworld. All stealth systems functioning at optimal levels, XO, Commander James Rodriguez reported. "The Karkan fleet remains unaware of our presence. Their sensors are still being spoofed by our ghost field projectors." Chen nodded, studying the approaching Karkan Armada. Their ships were impressive. Massive, heavily armed, clearly designed to inspire fear. But they were also loud, broadcasting their presence across every spectrum. The Karkans wanted their victims to see them coming. It was a philosophy Chen had never understood. "Open a channel to High Commander Vess," Chen ordered. The Navaran leader's image appeared before her, those alien eyes wide with a mixture of fear and hope. "Commander Vess, I am Admiral Chen of the Terran Defense Force. We've analyzed the situation. Do you wish to attempt negotiations with the Karkan fleet?" Vess's skin patterns flickered in what Chen's xenobiology training identified as confusion. "Negotiations, but they've refused all attempts at dialogue. They demand only our surrender and the handover of our quantum communication technology." "I understand. I ask because once we engage, there will be no opportunity for diplomacy. Humanity has hidden its military capability for 3 decades, Commander. Once we reveal ourselves, the galaxy changes forever. Are you certain this is what you want?" The Navaran leader straightened, her patterns stabilizing. "Admiral, my people face extinction. We cannot match the Karkan's military might. If you can help us, please do whatever you must." Chen's expression softened slightly. "Understood. Please inform your people to expect significant gravitational disturbances. Our weapons systems can be disruptive." She turned to Rodriguez. "Begin the operation." Across the human fleet, crews moved with practiced precision. There was no shouting, no dramatic speeches. Humanity had spent 30 years preparing for this moment, knowing that eventually they would have to reveal themselves to protect the innocent from the bullies of the galaxy. The Karkan fleet drew closer, their formation spreading out to surround the Navaran world. Their commanders were probably already drafting their victory speeches, imagining how they would describe their glorious conquest to their superiors. "All ships report ready," Rodriguez announced. "Ghost fields at maximum power. Gravity lance batteries charged. Quantum torpedoes armed." Chen nodded. "Execute primary attack pattern. Standard rules of engagement. Disable before destruction when possible, but make it clear that we're not here to play games." The human fleet moved. Ships that had been invisible to every known form of detection suddenly blazed into existence, their positions calculated to inflict maximum tactical advantage. Before the Karkan fleet could react, the first gravity lances fired. Beams of concentrated gravitational force sliced through space, catching the Karkan ships in their invisible grip. Entire squadrons of enemy vessels found themselves crushed by forces they couldn't even detect, their mighty shields useless against weapons that manipulated the fabric of space itself. Karkan fleet attempting to return fire, Rodriguez reported calmly. Their targeting systems are confused by our quantum interference. No hits registered. The battle, if it could even be called that, continued. Human ships danced through space with impossible grace, their movements guided by AI systems that could process combat data faster than organic minds could comprehend. Quantum torpedoes phased through Karkan shields, rematerializing inside their ships to disable key systems. On the Navaran surface, civilians watched in awe as the mighty Karkan Armada was systematically dismantled by an enemy they couldn't even properly see. The human ships seemed to flicker in and out of reality, appearing only when they struck, vanishing again before counterattacks could find them. Karkan command ship is attempting to broadcast a message, Rodriguez announced. Put it through, Chen ordered. A harsh voice filled the bridge, speaking in the common galactic trade language. This is Supreme Commander Vox of the Karkan Dominion. Who dares to attack? Chen cut him off. This is Admiral Chen of the Terran Defense Force. Your fleet is disabled. Your weapons are ineffective. You have 30 seconds to signal your surrender, or we will be forced to demonstrate our more aggressive capabilities. The Karkan Dominion does not surrender. 20 seconds. The silence that followed was deafening. On the tactical display, the remaining Karkan ships hung motionless, their crews likely struggling to understand how their glorious conquest had turned into a complete rout in less than 10 minutes. 10 seconds. We surrender. The Supreme Commander's voice was barely a whisper. Chen allowed herself a small smile. Wise choice. Power down your weapons and engines. Prepare to be boarded. Any resistance will be met with immediate response. She turned to Rodriguez. Contact High Commander Vess. Tell her world is secure. As her crew carried out their duties, Chen reflected on what would come next. The galaxy would soon be buzzing with news of humanity's true power. Their carefully maintained image of peaceful isolationists was gone forever. But perhaps now, the bullies of the galaxy would think twice before threatening peaceful civilizations. The real work was just beginning. The Grand Hall of the Karkan War Council erupted in chaos. Supreme Overlord Makfor slammed his armored fist against the ancient battle table, sending holograms flickering and advisors scrambling backward. News of their fleet's defeat had reached the Dominion capital, and with it came something that Karkans hadn't felt in centuries. Fear. Impossible. Makfor's voice boomed through the chamber. 2,000 ships. Our finest warriors. The pride of the Dominion. Defeated in minutes by primitives. Fleet Master Ixar, one of the few who had escaped the disaster at Nova Prime, stepped forward. His normally pristine battle armor still bore scorch marks from the human attack. My lord, these humans, they are not what we thought. Their technology, their tactics, we've never seen anything like it. Explain, Makfor growled. Their ships moved through space in ways that defied our sensors. They weren't just cloaked. They seemed to exist in multiple places simultaneously. Our weapons passed right through them, while theirs, he shuddered. They didn't just defeat us. They humiliated us. In orbit above the Karkan homeworld, the remainder of their fleet scrambled to establish defensive positions. Ships were recalled from every corner of the Dominion. Battle plans were hastily revised, and ancient weapons were pulled from secure vaults. The Karkans had built their empire through military might, crushing all who opposed them. They would not go quietly. Meanwhile, aboard the TES Hyperion, Admiral Chen was having a very different kind of meeting. The ship's conference room hosted an unlikely gathering. Navaran scientists, human military officers, and representatives from several previously neutral species who had suddenly become very interested in establishing closer ties with Earth. The Karkin response will be severe, Chen explained, gesturing to a tactical projection. They've already begun mobilizing their reserve fleets. Our intelligence suggests they're preparing to deploy weapons they've kept hidden for centuries. High Commander Vess, now serving as the Navaran representative, leaned forward. But surely after such a decisive defeat. The Karkins built their empire on fear and strength. Chen interrupted gently. To accept defeat would destroy the foundation of their society. No, they'll strike back, harder than ever. And that's exactly what we've been counting on. The room fell silent as Chen activated a new hologram, showing a complex network of quantum entanglement signatures. For 30 years, we've had ships quietly mapping every corner of Karkin space. We know every supply line, every hidden base, every secret weapon facility. We didn't just prepare for a battle, Commander Vess. We prepared for a war. But why? Asked one of the neutral representatives, a Centaurian diplomat. Why hide such power for so long? Chen's expression remained neutral, but her eyes held a hint of steel. Because humanity learned its lessons about war the hard way. We nearly destroyed ourselves before we reached the stars. When we finally did and saw how the galaxy operated, the bullying, the exploitation, the strong dominating the weak, we knew we had to be different. She stood, walking around the table. We could have announced ourselves with displays of force, showed everyone our technological superiority. Instead, we watched, we learned, we prepared, and we waited for the moment when someone truly needed our help. The tactical display updated, showing new human fleets emerging from quantum space across the Karkin Empire. Not attacking, not yet, but positioning themselves with surgical precision. The message was clear. The humans had the Karkins surrounded, and had probably had them surrounded for years. The Karkin leadership will be meeting in 6 hours to plan their counterattack, Chen continued. They think they're gathering in a secret bunker. In reality, we've had quantum sensors monitoring that facility since before they built it. When they strike, we'll be ready. High Commander Vess's skin patterns pulsed with a mixture of awe and concern. You seem very certain of victory, Admiral. Chen's response was interrupted by a priority alert. Commander Rodriguez's voice filled the room. Admiral, we're detecting massive energy signatures from multiple Karkin facilities. They're powering up something big. Right on schedule, Chen nodded. Tell all ships to initiate Phase 2 and get me a channel to Supreme Overlord Makfor. The conference room's holographic display shifted, showing the fearsome visage of the Karkin leader. His expression was one of barely contained rage. Makfor, Chen said calmly, I assume you're preparing to demonstrate your empire's secret weapon projects. The antimatter cascade devices, the dark matter disruptors, the quantum phase cannons. Save yourself the effort. We've known about them for decades, and we've developed countermeasures for each one. The Karkin leader's face contorted in shock, then fury. How? How dare you? I'm contacting you to offer a choice, Chen continued. In 20 minutes, your weapon facilities will be disabled. In 40 minutes, your supply lines will be cut. In 60 minutes, your entire military infrastructure will be under our control. You can either order your forces to stand down now, preserving countless lives on both sides, or you can watch everything you've built crumble before your eyes. The choice is yours. The silence that followed would be remembered by historians as the moment the galaxy changed forever. The Karkin Dominion, the greatest military power in known space, faced a decision that would reshape the political landscape for generations to come. And humanity, the species that had hidden in plain sight for 3 decades, waited patiently for their answer. Supreme Overlord Makfor stood in his war chamber, watching as everything he had built began to crumble. The humans' warning had not been a bluff. Across Karkan space, their hidden weapons and bases were being systematically neutralized by an enemy that seemed to understand their military infrastructure better than they did themselves. "My lord," Fleet Master Ixer's voice shook as he delivered the latest report. "We've lost contact with the Crimson Forge. The humans, they didn't destroy it. They simply locked us out of our own facility. Somehow they gained control of every security system, every defense grid, every—" "Enough," Mach 4 roared, but his voice carried more desperation than authority now. "There must be something they haven't anticipated, some weapon they haven't countered." A junior officer stepped forward, his ceremonial armor gleaming despite the grim atmosphere. "My lord, we still have the Omega Protocol." The chamber fell silent. The Omega Protocol was the Dominion's ultimate contingency plan, a network of planet-killing weapons hidden throughout their territory. It was meant to be their final act of defiance, ensuring that if the Karkan Empire fell, they would take their enemies with them. Before Mach 4 could respond, every screen in the war chamber activated simultaneously. Admiral Chen's face appeared, her expression as calm as ever. "The Omega Protocol has already been neutralized," she stated simply. "Those weapons were discovered and disabled within our first year of monitoring your empire. Would you like to see the footage?" The screen shifted, showing teams of human special forces, clad in advanced stealth suits, methodically dismantling the hidden planetary destroyers. The timestamp showed these operations had occurred 28 years ago. Mach 4 slumped in his command throne, the weight of reality finally crushing his pride. "How?" he whispered. "How did you do all this without us knowing?" "Because you never considered us a threat," Chen replied. "Your empire was built on displays of force, on making sure everyone knew your strength. We built something different. Our ships were designed not to be seen. Our weapons were made to end conflicts before they began. While you were building bigger guns, we were perfecting the art of making them irrelevant." The Admiral's image was replaced by a tactical display showing the current situation. Human ships had positioned themselves around every major Karkan military installation. Their supply lines were cut. Their secret bases were exposed. Their allies were already reaching out to Earth for protection. "The galaxy is changing, Supreme Overlord," Chen continued. "The age of empires built on fear is ending. You have a choice: adapt and survive, or cling to pride and fall. What happens next depends entirely on you." In that moment, something broke in Mach 4, not just his pride, but the fundamental beliefs that had shaped his species for generations. The Karkans had always equated strength with the ability to destroy, to dominate, to inspire fear. But these humans, they had achieved something far more impressive. They had rendered the Karkans' entire military philosophy obsolete. "If," Mach 4's voice cracked, "if we surrender, what are your terms?" "The same ones we've already transmitted," Chen replied. "Complete military disarmament, supervised by joint human-Navaran peacekeeping forces. The release of all conquered territories. Reparations to the species you've harmed, paid through technological and industrial cooperation, not monetary tribute." She paused, then added something unexpected. "And in return, we'll help you rebuild. Not as conquerors, but as a civilization that can contribute positively to the galaxy. Your people's strength and determination doesn't have to be used for destruction. We can show you another way." The offer stunned everyone in the chamber. The humans weren't seeking revenge. They weren't demanding the dissolution of the Karkan people. They were offering a path forward, harsh but fair, punitive but not destructive. Mach 4 looked around at his advisors, at the proud warriors who had helped him build and maintain their empire of fear. He saw in their eyes the same realization that had struck him. Their way of life wasn't just defeated, it was obsolete. He straightened in his throne one last time, not as a supreme overlord, but as the leader of a people who needed to change. "We accept your terms." Across the galaxy, news of the Karkan surrender spread rapidly. Species that had lived in fear of the Dominion for generations could hardly believe it. But more shocking than the surrender itself was the way it had been achieved. Humanity had ended the reign of the galaxy's greatest military power without destroying a single planet, without causing a single civilian casualty. As the human fleet began the process of implementing the peace accords, Admiral Chen received a private message from High Commander Vess. "You could have done this at any time in the past 30 years. You could have stopped them from hurting so many people. Why did you wait?" Chen's response was simple but profound. Because lasting peace can't be imposed by force alone. The galaxy needed to see not just that the Karkans could be defeated, but that there was a better way. Sometimes the hardest part of having power is knowing when not to use it. 5 years after the Karkan surrender, the Grand Assembly Hall of the newly established Galactic Cooperative hung suspended in orbit around a neutral star system. Representatives from hundreds of species gathered for the 5th anniversary of what historians now call the Revelation Day. The moment when humanity showed the galaxy a different path forward. High Commander Vess, now serving as the Cooperative's first chief mediator, stood at the central podium. Her silver skin patterns glowed with pride as she addressed the assembled delegates. The chamber itself was a testament to change. Navaran quantum technology merged with human engineering, creating a space where all species could communicate instantly and clearly, without fear of manipulation or deceit. 5 years ago, she began, our civilization faced extinction. We had believed that power could only be measured in military might, that safety could only be achieved through strength of arms. We were wrong. The assembled delegates murmured in agreement. Among them sat former Supreme Overlord Mach-4, now simply Ambassador Mach-4 of the reformed Karkan Republic. The changes in his people had been remarkable. Once their military was dismantled, the Karkans' technological and organizational skills had been redirected toward peaceful endeavors. Their shipyards, once dedicated to building weapons of war, now produced vessels for exploration and scientific research. The humans taught us all a valuable lesson, Vess continued. True power lies not in the ability to destroy, but in the wisdom to know when not to. Their patience, their foresight, their commitment to finding a better way. These are the qualities that have reshaped our galaxy. Admiral Chen sat quietly in the human delegation section, her uniform now bearing the insignia of both Earth's Defense Force and the Cooperative's peacekeeping fleet. The past 5 years had been busy. Human technology, finally shared openly with their allies, had revolutionized everything from space travel to medicine. But more importantly, human philosophical approaches to conflict resolution and cooperative development had sparked a cultural revolution across known space. The statistics speak for themselves, Vess announced, activating a holographic display. Interspecies conflict has decreased by 97%. Scientific cooperation has increased by 400%. Worlds once devastated by war are being restored through joint rehabilitation projects. And perhaps most remarkably, the former Karkan Empire has become one of our strongest advocates for peaceful resolution and cultural exchange. Mach-4 nodded solemnly from his seat. His people's transformation had not been easy, but they had discovered something unexpected in their defeat. Purpose. The same determination that had made them fearsome conquerors now made them excellent partners in galactic reconstruction. But we face new challenges, Vess continued. The discovery of the void rifts at the galaxy's edge reminds us that there are still threats greater than our internal conflicts. The ancient warning beacons we've discovered suggest that our galaxy once faced enemies we can barely comprehend. This is why the human approach to preparation and unity is more important than ever. Admiral Chen stood, taking her place at the podium, as Vess stepped aside. The human commander's presence still commanded attention, not through fear, but through respect. When humanity reached the stars, Chen began, we carried with us the scars of our own wars, our own near-extinction events. We had learned the hard way that survival depends not on domination, but on cooperation. Not on fear, but on trust. When we saw the conflicts in this galaxy, we didn't see enemies to be destroyed. We saw younger versions of ourselves, still learning these difficult lessons. She gestured to the massive viewing window, where ships of all species moved together in harmony. We hid our strength not out of fear or deception, but because we knew that true change couldn't come from force. It had to come from understanding, from choice, from seeing a better way forward. The challenges ahead of us are greater than any single species can face alone. The void rifts are just the beginning. But together, combining Navaran science, Karkan determination, human innovation, and the unique strengths of every species in this cooperative, we can face anything. As if to emphasize her point, a new ship class passed by the window. A massive exploration vessel jointly developed by human, Navaran, and Karkan engineers. Its mission: to probe the mysteries of the void rifts and prepare for whatever lay beyond. 5 years ago, Chen concluded, we showed you that humanity had mastered the art of war. Today, we invite you to help us master something far more difficult: the art of lasting peace. The chamber erupted in applause. Species that had once been bitter enemies now stood together, united in purpose. The galaxy had changed not through conquest or domination, but through the patient, careful revelation of a better path. As the ceremony concluded, High Commander Vess approached Admiral Chen privately. The void rifts concern you more than you let on, don't they? Chen nodded slightly. What we've detected out there, it's unlike anything we've ever seen. But this time, we don't have to face it alone. None of us do. Because this time, Vess replied, her patterns glowing with determination, we stand together. Exactly, Chen smiled. And together, we can face whatever comes next. Above them, the combined fleet of the Galactic Cooperative continued its eternal patrol, a symbol not of fear or domination, but of unity and hope. The stars themselves seemed to shine brighter, illuminating the dawn of a new age, one where humanity's greatest victory had come not from the strength of their weapons, but from the wisdom to show the galaxy a better way.